Yes. So we were here. She did not stop to ask if it were or were not a monstrous joy that held her. Monstrous joy means wicked joy, right? So she didn't wait to think that whether this was a, because her lips, they had already uttered the words free, 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 right? And it was not the right thing to think, to be happy about your husband's death when your husband is dead and then you are saying that now I am free. So that is why these words are written. We were not a monstrous joy that held her. So she didn't even bother that whether this is a monstrous joy means something wicked thought which is entering her mind, to be very happy and exalted about the death of her husband. A clear and exalted perception enabled her to dismiss the suggestion as trivial, right? So there was this something was very clear in her, and it was such she was so happy about it. Exalted means she happy perception. So this understanding was very clear to her that what she is feeling is happiness. What she has started realizing is that she is a free soul now, right? She was taking it in a very favorable manner, right? So she knew, enabled her to dismiss the suggestion as trivial. So this suggestion which entered her heart, that this is a monstrous joy, which tried to enter her heart, right? This guilt that she is being wicked, she is being evil to enjoy her husband's death. So this thing tried to enter her mind, her heart, but then she rejected it. She dismissed it, the suggestion as trivial. She thought it to be very insignificant. Why? Because this feeling which she was having at the present moment, that is of being free from the domination of her husband, that was too much for her, right? Too big for her to listen it. These thoughts like it is a monstrous joy and all these things, they were too little, too insignificant to overcome this feeling of freedom which she was having at the present. She knew that she would weep again when she saw the kind, tender hands folded in her. And she was well aware of the fact that when she will see the dead body of her husband, when the dead body of her husband will come to her house, then when she will have a glance of the dead body, she is bound to weep. Why? And that is not because she wants him back into her life. This is not the reason. That will be because she has lived with that person, the face that had never looked save with love upon her. So why? Because the face, she will be sad, she will cry to see the face which has always looked upon her with love, that had never looked upon. Save means except with love upon her, fixed, grey and dead. So on seeing the face of the person who had loved her, see, it is not said that her husband didn't love her, right? It is never said, at no place it has been mentioned. Husband loved her, but husband loved her as an object, right? Not as a human being. Loving somebody and giving freedom to somebody, these are two different things. When you love someone as a human being, as something who is alive, then you will treat a person in a different manner. But when you love someone as an object, then you will only use the person, you use an object according to your own will. You don't ask an object that how is it feeling, what are the feelings of that object. So the husband loved her, had never looked save with love upon her, fixed and grey and dead. So now the husband, the man who had loved her, the eyes which had loved her are now lying in front of her, grey, dead and fixed. When she will see this, she is bound to cry. She would weep. She is very sure of it. So it means that Mr. Mallard always gave her looks that he loved her, right? But she saw beyond that bitter moment a long procession of fear. But that sorrow of some time, which will be in her heart, she looked beyond that sorrow, beyond that momentary sorrow, which will be only for some time, that she will weep for her husband only for some time, as long as his dead body will be there in front of her eyes. When she will look at her face, she is bound to weep. But then, what did she see? She saw beyond that bitter moment a long procession of years to come that would belong to her absolutely. She thought about the future, those years, those many, many years which she would live with freedom now, with no one trying to control her will. Right? Procession of years means many years to come that would belong to her absolutely. Now those coming years will be only hers. She will be in charge of her life. There will be no one to dominate her or control her. Nobody to tell her what she is supposed to do and what she is not supposed to do. Right? So when she thought about those things, then she was relaxed. She was happy. These thoughts that an n number of years, all the coming years of her life, she will enjoy and live for herself, with no one trying to impose his personal will upon her. So these thoughts made her happy. And she opened and spread her arms out to them in welcome. And then, standing in front of the window, she opened her arms. Sitting in front of the window on that chair, she opened her arms out wide, trying to embrace, right? As a symbol of embracing those years, those coming years, which will be full of freedom, which will be full of independence and happiness. So she opened her arms wide and welcomed those coming years. There would be no one to live for during those coming years. She would live for herself. So in the coming life, she would live only for herself. Right? There would be no one for her to live for. There would be no powerful will bending hers. This is an important one. There would be no powerful will bending hers in that blind persistence with which men and women believe that they have a right to impose a private will upon a fellow creature. So, in a marriage, what is basically believed that one person has a right over the other. Right? So, there will be powerful will bending hers means that there will be no domination, no will of another person controlling her. The will with which men and women, they are of the opinion that they have a right. I told you that this is a common perception about marriage, that one partner has a right over the life of other, has a right to control the other. It can be either of the two. In this particular case, it was a man trying to control the wife. Right? So he said that there would be no powerful will. There will be no will of another person trying to control my life. Right? The will with which men and women, they believe that they have a right to impose their private will. Private will means personal will, their own personal likes and dislikes upon the fellow creature. You must have seen in normal marriages, this is it. I am not going to do this because my husband doesn't like it. Are, who is your husband to control your life? Who is your husband to tell you? Right? I don't eat non-veg because in my family non-veg is not eaten. I don't do this because my husband will get annoyed. So what is all this? It's one person controlling the life of other person. People go to the extent of wearing dresses and the colors which the other person likes. Why? Right? So this is a normal thing which happens in relationships and marriages. One person tries to dominate the other person. A kind intention or the cruel intention made the act seem no less. So whether the intention is kind or whether the intention is cruel, a kind intention or a cruel intention, it doesn't matter what your intention is of controlling the life of other person. Right? You might say that no, you are not supposed to wear this because it's not safe. Are, who are you to tell me you should not go out? Why? I should be given the freedom to decide about my life. You should not do this because this is not good for you. You should not do that because that is not good for you. You should not eat this. You should not wear this. You should not talk like this. You should behave like this. You should go there. You should not go there. So all these things are what? Control, domination, imposing your private will upon other fellow creature who was born as free as you were born. Freedom was the basic right. Freedom is the basic right of every creature born on this earth. And then you come up with this that my intention was good. Why? Is your partner a fool? Is he not grown up enough? Can't he think? Can't he or she think properly? What is good for that person and what is bad for that person? Who are you to control? A kind, and so that is what the writer has written. A kind intention or a cruel intention made the act seem no less a crime. It is a crime to control, to impose your private will upon your fellow creature. This is wrong, and it doesn't matter what your intention is. Whether you are doing it with some kind intention because you are overprotective, you are trying to patronize, or maybe because of cruel intention. You want to dominate. Whatever your intention is, it won't make it less a crime. It will be a crime upon it in that brief moment of illumination. So this moment of illumination, right? This moment of enlightenment, this moment of knowledge and understanding, which she was undergoing at that present time, right? It made it, she failed to realize whether the intention of her husband was right, whether the intention of her husband was wrong. The only thing she felt was that she was free now. Her life belonged to her now. Because the person who was dominating her, the person who was controlling her till now, he is no more. And this made her feel happy. And yet she loved him sometimes. So it's not that she hated him. She loved him sometimes. There were at times. If you are living at a person, you cannot go on continuously hating that person from the very beginning till the end of his life. So no doubt that she loved him at times. There were moments, there were times when she had loved her husband. Often she had not. But most of the time she had not loved. What did it matter? But it doesn't matter. Why? Because for her, there is something more important than love. What could love, the unsolved mystery, count for in the face of this possession of self assertion? In this moment of self assertion, in this moment of being, in this moment of realization that you are a free being, whether she loved her husband, whether she didn't love her husband, whether she loved her husband sometimes, or whether she didn't love her husband at all, this love thing was immaterial at this moment. Love, which is an unsolved mystery. It is a mystery which has not been solved. People fail to understand something which is not easily understood. So, love, what could love? The unsolved mystery. It is a strange, unsolved mystery. It's a secret which has not been resolved. Count for in the face of this possession. In this moment of self assertion, which she suddenly recognized as the strongest impulse of her. This feeling was the most powerful feeling inside her at the present moment. At the present moment, this feeling of freedom, feeling of independence was more important to her than this fact whether she loved her husband or whether she didn't love her husband. She loved her husband sometimes or not. So love thing was completely out of question. She was not even thinking about it. Because there was something which was more powerful inside her, and that was the feeling of self-assertion and realization of her individuality at this moment. Then she again whispered. Earlier she whispered free, 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 and now she whispered few more words. That is free, body and soul free. So now he said that now her body and soul both are free. Now nobody will tell her what she's supposed to do and what she's not supposed to do. She will not have to lead her life according to someone else. Free, body and soul free, she kept whispering. So she kept on repeating these lines because now slowly she has realized this. She was trying to adjust herself to the newly acquired freedom, right? That realization of her own desires, her own views, her own feelings, which have been suppressed by her husband till now for all those years when she was married to him. She was slowly trying to come out of that suppression. So, free body and soul free, she kept whispering. So, she kept on repeating these words, free body and soul free. So, now her soul and body both were free. Josephine was kneeling before the closed door. And now, because she had locked herself inside the room and her sister was outside. So, she was worried. As it is, she was a heart patient. Mrs. Ballard was a heart patient. We have been told about this in the beginning of the chapter. So obviously her sister would be worried about her health and well-being. So Josephine was kneeling before the closed door with her lips to the keyhole. So she was trying to see what's happening inside the keyhole, from the keyhole, and she was speaking from the keyhole, imploring for admission. Imploring for admission means she was continuously requesting her to beg something or to request, very earnestly request something. So that is implore. So she was continuously, Josephine was continuously requesting her sister to please open the door. Right? Louis, open the door. So now this is her first name. Now we are told her first name by the writer. Why? Because now Mrs. Mallard has realized her freedom. Now she has realized this thing, free body and soul free. So now she has become aware of her individuality. In the beginning of the chapter, the writer addressed her as Mrs. Ballard because she didn't have any identity in the beginning of the chapter. Now, this realization, this self-realization, after this self-realization, the writer has given her name. Louis, open the door. So she was shouting. Josephine was shouting from outside the room that please open the door. I beg, open the door. You will make yourself felt. So if you want, what she was thinking was that Mrs. Mallard is crying. She could not even in her wildest dreams imagine the thoughts which were coming inside Mrs. Mallard's head at the present moment. What she was going through, she couldn't even imagine, right? So she was worried that Mrs. Mallard will make herself sick. So that is why she was requesting continuously to open the door. What are you doing, Louis? For heaven's sake, open the door. So she said that, please open the door for heaven's sake. What are you doing? I'm worried about you. You will make yourself sick. Go away. I'm not making myself ill. But this happiness which she was enjoying, Mrs. Mallard, Louis was enjoying this happiness, right? This freedom, this recently acquired freedom which she was enjoying. She didn't want to be disturbed. So that is why she said, go away, I'm not making myself ill. You please go away, you don't disturb me. I will not fall ill. Right? I'm not making myself sick, so you go away. No, she was drinking in a very elixir of life through the open window. So this elixir of life she was enjoying from the open window. What is an elixir? Elixir is the liquid, the magical potion or the magical liquid, which is expected to relieve all illness, right? So that magical liquid which cures all illness, she was drinking it from outside the window, right? This self-assertion, this self-realization, this realization of her freedom, that now her body, soul is free. Now nobody will impose his personal will upon her. So this made her feel very happy at that moment. So from that open window, she was drinking that magical elixir of life. I think we will stop here and continue further on the next time. Her fancy was running riot along those days ahead of her. So she was imagining about the days which will come, right? The approaching days, her future days, how will they be? And this made her feel very happy. Now, what all she will do, right? There'll be no one to control her. There'll be no one to tell her what she is supposed to do and what she is not supposed to do. So that is the meaning of running. It means she was continuously thinking wildly or freely about the days which were about to come, spring days and summer days and all sorts of days that would be her own. So now all these days, all the remaining days of her life will belong only to her. Spring days, the days of the spring season, the days of the summer season, all of those days will belong to her only, right? Without the domination of somebody else, without somebody else telling her what is right, what is wrong, or how she is supposed to live her life. So this made her go wild. Her imagination was going wild. She breathed the quick prayer that life might be long. Now she started praying that may her life be a long one. Now she wished for a long life. Why? Because now she was a free human being after the death of her husband. It was only yesterday that she had thought with a shudder that life might be long. And it was exactly opposite to the thoughts which came to her mind a day before. A day before, she wished that may her life be a short one so that she is free from the torture of her husband. But now she wanted, now at this present moment when her husband died, so she wanted that her life should be a long one. She said a quick prayer that life might be long. It was only yesterday that she had thought with a shudder. Thought with a shudder means tremble, right? Whenever this thought, earlier when her husband was alive, and this thought that she will have to live a long life, whenever this came to her mind, it made her shudder, it made her tremble. Why? Because she didn't want to live this kind of a life. But now she desired that her life should be a long one, and she prayed for it. She arose at length and opened the door to her sister's importunity. Importunities means, what is the meaning of importunities? Who can tell me? Anyone? Nobody. So importunities means like repeated requests, the continuous pleadings. So the sister was going on pleading and requesting that please open the door, please open the door. So she arose after thinking for a long period of time, right? See, she got up from the chair and she opened the door to her sister's request. Sister's repeated request, she opened the door and obliged her sister. There was a feverish triumph in her eyes, and she carried herself unwittingly like the goddess of victory. And now, when she opened the door, she was carrying herself like the goddess of victory. There was a feverish triumph in her eyes. So feverish means what is the meaning of feverish? Feverish means full of energy and excitement. So that energy, that excitement was there in her eyes. That sense of victory was there in her eyes. Why? Because she was free now. So that excitement was present in her eyes, and she carried herself unwittingly like the goddess of victory. And the way she was walking was like she was the goddess of victory. Now she has won and she is victorious, and she was walking like this, full of excitement and energy. She clasped her sister's waist, and together they descended the stairs. So she just put her hand on her sister's waist and they started coming downstairs. Richards stood waiting for them at the bottom. And Richards, you know who was Richards? Who was Richards? Richards was Mr. Mallard's friend, right? So he was there, still waiting downstairs. Someone was opening the front door with the latch key. So what did they hear? The moment she was coming down from the stairs, she heard someone opening the door, the main door of the house with a latchkey. Latchkey is the key for the outer door, right? So somebody, they heard somebody opening the door. It was Brentley Millard. So who was there? Brentley Millard. Mrs. Millard's husband was there, who entered a little travel stain. So he was, travel stain means tired and fatigued because of traveling. So that fatigue, that exhaustion of travel was there on her face, compositely carrying his grip sack and umbrella. So, and he was there. He entered the door. He opened the door from outside with his latchkey. He entered the door. He looked a little travel stained, means he looked a little exhausted and tired because of traveling for a long time. And then he very calmly entered the door with his grip sack. Grip sack is the travel bag, the bag which he was carrying while traveling, and an umbrella. He had been far from the scene of the accident. He was not even present at the scene of the railroad accident, the place where the accident took place, and did not even though there had been one. And he was not even aware of this fact that there was some kind of accident. So he was completely oblivious, completely unaware of this railroad accident, and about this fact that the news of his death has reached his house, and all the things which happened throughout the story, he was unaware of. He stood amazed at Josephine's piercing cry. And the moment he entered, Josephine screamed. He cried. She cried. And he was shocked. A person who doesn't know anything about what's going on, and he enters the house, and Josephine started shouting, screaming at Richard's quick motion to screen him from the view of his wife. So she wanted Richard to come and screen him, means to hide him, to hide Mr. Millard from the view of his wife, that is Mrs. Millard's view. Why? Can anyone tell me why they wanted him to hide Mr. Millard? No one. So because Avishi. Yes, Avishi. Please unmute yourself.
They wanted to hide Mr. Millard because Mrs. Millard had heart disease, so she doesn't get a big shock so abruptly.
Yes, because she was a heart patient. She had a weak heart, and any kind of excitement can be fatal for her, can lead to her death. So that is why Richard tried to hide Mr. Millard from the view of his wife, that is from the view of Mrs. Millard. But it was too late. When the doctors came, they said she had died of a heart disease, of the joy that kills. So when the doctors came, it was too late. He was not successful. Mrs. Millard saw Mr. Millard, and then she collapsed immediately and she died. So when the doctors came, what did the doctor say? That she died of heart disease, of the joy that kills. This is important. Now, this is an ironical line, of the joy that kills. Any problem in the story? This line is ironical, of the joy that kills. There is dramatic irony in this line. What is dramatic irony? Can anyone tell me what is dramatic irony? Why did Mrs. Millard die? What was the reason of Mrs. Millard's death? Yesterday we discussed. Can anyone give me the answer? See, the doctor, Mr. Millard, and the rest of the people, they believed that the reason for Mrs. Millard's death was joy, that she became very happy when she saw Mr. Millard. They were of the opinion that she couldn't contain that much happiness and that much excitement. But this was not the real reason. If we look at the events which passed on during this 1 hour, this was not the reason. What was the reason of Mrs. Millard's death? Because now she realized that all these dreams of freedom, all these things which she thought for the past 1 hour, they were shattered because Mr. Millard was alive, and now she will have to lead the life she has led till now. She won't get his freedom. So it was not happiness, it was not joy that killed her. So there is dramatic irony in this. Okay, means what is dramatic irony? Dramatic irony means the audience is aware, or the readers, they are aware of the reality, but the people or in the story, that is the characters, they are not aware. So the characters in the story, they are not aware of the real reason of Mrs. Mallard's death, but the readers, they are aware because they were with Mrs. Mallard throughout the story. So they know that it was not happiness, rather it was sorrow. It was the reason was that her dreams were shattered, right? So that is why she couldn't tolerate that, such a great sorrow, and so she died. With this, we come to the end of the story.